We have a massive update in the Matt Gaetz story, which is that Joel Greenberg, his wingman, his accomplice, his friend, the guy that Matt Gaetz did all of the awful stuff with, he has officially filed his plea deal. He has taken his plea deal, and the consensus is, from media analysts that have decades of experience studying the law, Matt Gaetz is absolutely screwed. We've been talking about it, but I'm just some guy. Actual lawyers, journalists that study the law, are saying that what's in this plea deal, more than anything else thus far, really shows how much trouble Gaetz is in. One report, just in particular, notes that Greenberg's plea deal is like 80-some pages. It's quite extensive, but 60 of those pages deal with the crimes of other people, not Joel Greenberg. So put another way, almost 3/4 of his file, almost 3/4 of his plea deal with other people. Now, I'm sure Gaetz isn't the only one. I'm sure that not all of those 60 pages are about Matt Gaetz, but I'm damn well sure that a good chunk of those 60 pages are at least partially about Matt Gaetz. We already talked about it. We already knew that Megan Zelonka, the person that Matt Gaetz paid for companionship, Daily Beast ran a story on it over the weekend. She's one of the people that Greenberg is saying that both he and Gaetz paid for companionship tens of thousands of dollars over months and years. And that's just one example of how independent media journalism, studying Gaetz, covering Gaetz, is corroborated by the claims made in the Greenberg plea deal. And what it also shows, and this is from a CNN legal analyst, they basically said, look, all of this proves that they got the goods. That you could say whatever you want about Greenberg, and we should say a lot about this scumbag who deserves to go away for a long, long time, but he delivered. He had the goods on Gaetz and others, and there's a reason this really awful person who did really bad things is getting a substantive amount of his charges reduced, and that's because he delivered. And when you deliver, everyone else that was in your circle, they're sweating. And I know Matt Gaetz is absolutely terrified right now because of it. And so basically everyone is saying one thing. Matt Gaetz is about to go through some things. He's about to go through some stuff right now. He's about to really have the hardest period in this investigation. That even if he doesn't ultimately go down, and I'm actually quite confident he will face consequences, this is the hardest time for him. Because before, it was all about gathering information. It was all about tying up the loose ends, like Greenberg, getting other cooperating witnesses, like the ex-girlfriend in Vintage 99, and other small fish. But now that they all seem to be wrapped up, now you can go after Gaetz. And if there's one thing above all that typifies how I'm feeling, and I'm sure you're feeling, outside the courtroom today where Greenberg made the plea deal was this airplane banner saying, "Tick-tock, Matt Gaetz, tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. We're coming for you, Matt. Your time is done." And again, I've said this time and time again. Matt Gaetz deserves this, not only because he did awful things, but because Matt Gaetz epitomizes like rich, white, male, well-connected privilege, who did awful things his entire life, knowing in his heart that he would never face consequences because his rich daddy would always bail him out. Well, Matt, you might have finally got your just desserts.